County Board meeting. And with that, I would ask for an invocation by Pastor Richard Giovannetti. Pastor.
Good to see everybody. I really appreciate the opportunity, and we thank you always for all of your service, everything that you all are doing for Livingston County. I'd heard that you have on your sheriff's car, "In God We Trust." And I am so excited about that because right now in America, we desperately need good leadership in our counties at all levels. The people that are willing to stand up even in all the things you've got to do, and I've seen your list of things you've got to do. And we just want to applaud you and thank you that you are standing up because our nation desperately needs what you are doing. And the Word of God is very clear. We're to hold fast to the Word, teach our kids this way, train ourselves. And I'm excited that you are standing your ground. You know, we believe in our flag. We believe in who we are as Americans and as citizens and as Christians. So again, I applaud you for standing your ground and taking your place. God bless every one of you. So with that, I'm going to lead us off in prayer. Thank everybody for being out today. Father, in the name of Jesus, you know how desperate it is as you've given good government into the hands of men. And Lord, you've given us your laws and your standards in which we can walk in those governments. And Lord, right now, as the citizenry, I speak such a blessing over every one of these who have been willing to take on this position, to be willing to stand in the gap for laws and rules. And Father, to hold your standards to the highest, so that this nation can stand and remain being blessed. That Father, even in this board meeting, even in this place, they will be a beacon, that they hold a standard of integrity and dignity. And Father, as the meeting goes on, that there will be a platform of camaraderie and unity. Because, Father, we want the blessings of heaven on them. And not just on them, Father. I speak a blessing over their homes, over their families, over their children, over their household, Father. Everything that they do outside of this place, Father, that you would walk with each one of these members and your hand of favor would be on them and they would notice God's favor on them. The Father, use this meeting for your kingdom's sake. Bless their organization and their order, Father. Bring it to a place of godly completion. And we will give you the praise in Jesus' name. And everybody said, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. Okay, I think Mr. Weller is absent today. So in his absence, I'll ask Mr. Yoder to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Yoder. We'll have roll call, please.
Vietti. Bunning.
Present.
Slagle. Ingalls.
Here.
Steichen. Schaefer.
Here.
Killian. Kestner.
Here.
Ritter. Gerwin. Lovell. Allen.
Here.
Arbogast.
Here.
Weller. Ambrose.
Here.
Carly. Holt.
Here.
Runyon.
Here.
Mays. Heath.
Here.
Weber. Young.
Here.
Yoder. Fannin.
Yep. Okay, before we get to the approval of the agenda, how many people in the audience tonight would like to speak about either the referendum or on the videotaping? How many would like to speak? Address? How many hands have I got up? 4? Okay, so if we could limit that to 5 minutes, and whoever, and with the approval of the board, I'd like to make public comments under number 2, presentation. With that, I'd entertain that motion.
I'll move as amended.
Bunning, was there a second? Arbogast? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. In the minutes, no, wait a minute. They are not printed up at this time, but they will be very shortly. I mean, like you'll be getting them in email. So, but tonight they're not ready. So, with that, we will go to public comments. Who would like to lead it off? State your name, I know.
I'm Rod Patterson from Pontiac. I just have a couple really quick things I want to say about, first of all, about the home health program and the referendum that I've seen that you all are going to be voting on later. My concern is when we talk about senior citizens, that could leave out some of the folks with disabilities that have already been receiving services through this program. It wasn't just for senior citizens. There's some people that qualified for the program that had a disability. I just want to make sure that those people are still able to get this service if this passes. And then to talk about the referendum, you know, we've tried to bring this up for a discussion for a long time. We've gotten nowhere with that. And several people got very upset about that, and they decided that a referendum was the only way to get it on the agenda. So I applaud those people for working so hard to do that. And as far as the taping, I've been curious to know how the referendum came about, but the minutes aren't available yet, and I wasn't at the administrative committee meeting. So if that had been on tape, we could have looked that up, and maybe our questions and concerns would have already been answered. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson. Come on up, whoever wants to be next.
I'm Joan Lipinski from Pontiac. We were told when we went to several meetings and researched that the community health care, Livingston County Community Health Care Program was going to be discontinued. We were concerned about that. We kept trying to find alternatives and answers and talking to a lot of board members, emailing, phone calls, whatever. We finally decided that we would try to petition and see. And the reason why I've heard that the petitions are our question for the referendum to be put on the ballot was too vague. We did not want to add taxes because we're citizens. We're not a body that can do anything about taxes. We basically wanted to ask who in the county felt that we needed to keep this kind of program available for people that fall through the cracks. What we've been coming up against are people want us to say something about tax. That's not something we can really do. Referendums before have included that, but those haven't been citizen referendums. They've been advisory referendums coming from the board, something you don't have to follow. All we wanted was to give citizens and the voters in this county the right to write on a ballot and say, I agree with this or I don't agree with this. Adequate funding being found some way from your budget because you haven't set a budget yet this year, or through asking for taxes at some point, but you can at least go to the next voting period before you have to ask for more taxes from people. 15 years ago, people in this county, 71% and 66%, voted to raise taxes to maintain the nursing home. That ended. Interest was used, I understand, from a fund. I understand those things, but it's not really the responsibility for the citizens to figure out exactly where they want the money to come from unless you pose a referendum to have them increase taxes. What we wanted was just to see, and we don't know whether people will say yes or no to it. We've been responded to by board members that we don't want to compete with businesses. We've been responded to with, you need to raise the money yourself. You know, we've been responded to with a lot of those things. So we felt, let's ask citizens if they think this kind of program is even important or something to approve. You're putting the referendum on your ballot, the ballot so quickly, adds a tax. We think it's going to be confusing to people because we were just asking a basic, what do you want to spend your money on, tax money on question. And the other thing is, it does say it's a senior home health care program. The program that's available now is not home health care. It is a community health care. More people can be in it, and there's a variety of things that can be done in that program that aren't done necessarily in home health care programs. Those usually require nurses. Those usually don't have some of the housekeeping assistance, and that's not like cleaning, dusting stuff. I mean, that's, you know, helping people with some personal issues that they need some assistance with. That's why we did that. And it's been very difficult to communicate with board members. I've been the most successful this last week in getting 10 responses to phone calls. That's not even 50% of you. The other times I've emailed, I'm lucky if I get 6. Or I've tried to call, and I leave messages because several of you have office numbers to contact, and I know that some people don't get email, but the office always has those emails too. We send a copy to them. So it's kind of hard to communicate, and I don't know how citizens can do it, other than maybe getting the chance to vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, come on up.
My name is Earl Raines. I live in Pontiac. I'm a lifelong resident of Livingston County, other than a little time I spent in the military. And I want to thank Chair Robert Young for the courtesy to speak under public comment. All the military, past and present, plus all government officials took an oath to uphold and preserve the United States Constitution. Under the Bill of Rights, Amendment 1, protects our freedom of religion and the free exercise thereof, our freedom of speech, our freedom of the press, and our freedom to peacefully assemble to redress the government. I want to thank the press, Paul, for being here tonight, and their reporting of the facts that protect our democracy. I would like to just relay some facts of what I've seen that's happened so far. Number 1, County Board voted to terminate a program that assists any county resident to live independently in their home. Number 2, a concerned citizens group attended the Finance Committee asking them to reconsider cutting this important program. Number 3, also attended the monthly county board meeting asking them to reinstate the program in their budget for 2018-2019, which has not been approved yet. Number 4, a concerned citizens group wrote an advisory referendum to be put on the November ballot, giving the voters a chance to give the county board direction, just direction. Number 5, a concerned citizens group went out in the county and received 1,190 signatures needed to put the referendum on the ballot according to the state election board in Springfield. Number 6, on Monday, August 6th, okay, there were petitions turned into the county clerk's office, and Christy Mashing verified all the petition sheets. Number 7, on Monday, August 13th, was the last day to protest. No protest from any citizen or county board member. Number 8, this referendum was written to give the elected county board members flexibility to improve and change the guidelines they felt were necessary. We weren't tying the county board's hands. And number 9, Melinda Hillman, the public health administrator, is fiscally responsible and is respected as a public servant serving all the county residents. All we ask is that the facts be reported correctly as this debate moves to the November election. Let the voters have their voice in democracy. Thank you.
Okay, I saw another lady starting to get up.
I'm Debbie Bacigalupo, a resident of Pontiac. I don't have any notes, but I did want to let you know that the county board hasn't been a topic of conversation that I've had with friends in the past, but it started to become a topic, and people see me and they talk to me about it. So I think the citizens are starting to pay more attention to what's going on, and that's a good thing. And I think it would be a really good thing to have this recorded For instance, my husband is sleeping now because he works midnights, and, you know, he would like to know what goes on. I think that's just one reason that it would be a good idea to record it. And I really hope that the other proposal you have for referendum, you don't put it on there this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Someone else? Anyone? Last call. Okay, I want to thank everyone for giving their input, and I thought it was a good idea to do it before, let you have that chance before it came up for board vote. So thank you for sharing it. With that, we'll go to the consent agenda. You see the appointments: Alina Hartley, ADA Coordinator; Dwayne Meister, Cullen Fire District; Ted Turner, Remington Campus Fire District. So, could I have a motion? Ingalls, and a second. Fannin. Okay, if we could, we'll roll call those, please.
Vieti,
Yes.
Bunning,
Yes.
Slagle,
Yes.
Ingalls,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Killian, Kestner,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Gerwin, Lovell,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Arbogast,
Yes.
Weller, Ambrose,
Yes?
Holt,
Yes.
Runyon,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Heath,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Yoder,
Yes.
Fannin.
Yes.
Okay, and with that, we'll go to the action agenda. And the very first one up is the Highway Committee. Mr. Jason Bunning, Chairman. Mr. Bunning.
All righty, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Clay is coming to the podium, we have two action items to bring before the full committee to full board tonight. An agreement with Fairgram Engineering and Environmental on a Sunbury Road District bridge. So Clay, you have the floor.
Okay, so as you can see, we just have an engineering agreement with Fairgram to replace a bridge in Sunbury Township. This is located at 2800 North, 1485 East. It has a cost not to exceed of $29,502.64. And we'd like to replace this structure with the federal funds that we, allocation that we would receive. And it's currently in the program for 2021.
Any questions for Clay on action item 1? All righty. B, a letting result that took place last Tuesday, August 7th, 2018 on a backhoe combination. Clay?
So this is a backhoe that is a 2019. We had two bidders, Cat and Martin, or Altorfer, I'm sorry, providing a Cat machine, and Martin Equipment providing a John Deere. The low bid is for the John Deere backhoe, which was voted through the committee to recommend for approval. So it's a 410L, sorry, it's 2019. It's replacing a backhoe that was purchased in 2004.
And I think this is what, the third letting for this, so we've got the funds to do it, so we thought we would go ahead and move forward to it. I will tell you, for total transparency, at our committee meeting last Thursday, we did these as two separate items because we were waiting for a signature on action item letter A. We have gotten it, so I'm going to lump these two together, and I will make a motion.
Second.
Who was the second? Okay, Runyon. Any discussion? Anybody got questions for either one? Jason or Clay? Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and have a roll call vote.
Vieti,
Yes.
Bunning,
Yes.
Slagle,
Yes.
Ingalls,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Kestner,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Lovell,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Arbogast,
Yes.
Weller,
Yes.
Ambrose,
Yes?
Holt,
Yes.
Runyon,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Heath,
Yes.
Weber, Young,
Yes.
Yoder,
Yes.
Fannin.
Yes.
And I've got just two more informational items, Chairman. We have purchased a 2015 Peterbilt tandem from the Winnebago County Road District for $120,000. We gave him authority and gave the motion to do that out of committee last week. And also, I think he can report on where we are at with the bridge south of Dwight. So I yield it back to Clay.
I thought maybe Jason would want to give that news.
Absolutely not. I'm going to let you do it, Clay.
So we're continuing with the replacement. Obviously, the bridge is completed. We're now working on the approaches. All the existing pavement has been ripped out. We're in the process of placing the stone back in. We're hoping to complete the stone within the next week or two. It is the goal to tentatively have paving the week of September the 10th. So by that week is our goal to get this back open by the end of that week. So weather permitting and contractor, subcontractor schedule.
And the key word is goal. Our goal is to have it open the week of September 10th. So we will see how that plays out. Thank you, Clay.
That it? Okay, Ag and Zoning, Mr. Holt, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First thing we have is a resolution regarding a zoning case SF 518 FCI subdivision regarding a request from a Ronald and Norma Fair of Fairbury, approval of a final plat for a subdivision. And I'll turn it over to Chuck to explain, as he usually does a fine job.
Okay, this is a proposal for a two-lot subdivision where they own the property. What they're basically doing is taking this property, which is just to the northwest of Fairbury. And you have to report in your packet. Part of it had a plat, or series of information with the plat, where they're dividing their property into two tracts, where one tract would be 4.79 acres and one would be 1.77 acres. So the reason for the subdivision is because there'd be two tracts below 5 acres to meet the Plat Act requirements. The reason for it is plat parcel B, which is the 1.77 acres, has their home located on it, and parcel A has a large building on it that basically houses the family business, which is Fair Cab Interiors. The reason for the subdivision at this point in time is they're basically doing some estate planning where they want to make sure that the business and the home are all set up so they can move forward with it and it's divided off. So in the future, it's easier for them to have the business on one tract of land and then the house, if it would be sold to somebody else, would be on a separate tract of land. So that's the reason for the subdivision and where they're at with that. This did go before the Planning Commission with a public hearing. They do recommend this zoning case be approved. Since this was developed, not foreseeing a potential subdivision through the years, the garage portion of the house is located 10 feet off the property line. The Zoning Board of Appeals did approve a variance to allow for that to be 10 feet instead of 50 feet off a rear line or 25 feet off a sideline, how you want to look at it. So the variance has already been approved in regards to that. So, and then the committee did review it at the meeting last week. They've also recommended the zoning case be approved. And the applicants are here this evening. If you have any questions, and they are present this evening too.
With that, I'll make a motion to approve the request resolution.
Need a second? Mr. Lovell? Any questions?
Keep trying.
Nice try, Paul.
Use your mic.
Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and roll call that, please.
Fieri,
Yes.
Bunning,
Yes.
Flagel,
Yes.
Ingalls,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Kestner,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
let's see, Lovell,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Arbogast,
Yes.
Weller, Ambrose,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Runyon,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Heath,
Yes.
Weber, Young,
Yes.
Yoder,
Yes.
Fannin.
Yes.
The next one is a resolution zoning case SU 718, Borrego Solar. The application is by Roger and Jill Murphy of Dwight. The solar farm is just south, it's on 170, south of Route 17, and south of the Vic and Ethel's used to be restaurant out there. But I'll leave
turn it over to Chuck to explain how this process went through the planning and ZBA.
Okay, the information you got should have come in two different packets, I believe. The first one that you got basically was divided into the application and the explanation in regards to it, which included the project narrative in which they're proposing to come before you. It had a copy of the slides from the PowerPoint presentation, which was given at the Zoning Board of Appeals to give you an overall feeling or an idea as to what was presented to the Zoning Board of Appeals. And also included some of the, that also included some of the site plans as far as where this will be located. This is going to be a 2 megawatt proposed solar farm development. It's going to be located on 16 acres as opposed to the other one because of the different technology they're using. This will be on a tracking system, so this will not be fixed, so it will be tracking, so it will move with the sun. If you look at the siding of it, you'll note that it is, if you look at the plat, it's moved a little bit off of the road right-of-ways because there was a couple of wetlands on there and they wanted to make sure they avoided the wetlands. That also sets it back off the road a little bit further in order to do that. The second part of the information I gave you had some copies of the findings of fact and decision from the Zoning Board of Appeals, along with the recommendation from the Regional Planning Commission. Both of these have recommended that the zoning case be approved. The Zoning Board of Appeals does have conditions that are attached to that which was sent to you. These conditions are similar to the ones that you've had in the past. There's one difference in that the decommissioning amount was determined to be $150,000 as opposed to $135,000 for the last one. This one does have a proposal where it will have a living fence bordering along the part that's viewable from Route 170 or the Katy Blacktop. There's also a notation made with an extra condition on there just to confirm that the fence to be located on the property is going to be 8 feet tall instead of 7 feet tall. The applicant proposed 7 feet, seeking a possible variance in it. The ordinance recommends it be 8 feet. So they're going to go ahead and comply with the 8-foot variance at this particular time. We may revisit that at a future text amendment when we kind of address those issues too. So that's comes back before you. The conditions, due to the timing of these issues with the solar farms you reviewed last month and this month, the conditions that you have that the planning or the Zoning Board of Appeals proposed to you were similar to the ones that you had before. And if you remember last month, we recommended that the two of them be changed to allow for the wording to be just a little bit more concise as far as marketing the word. So one of them, number 12, had the word reasonable put in it, and number 8 was reconfigured under wording so that the status would still be reviewed by the Zoning Board of Appeals in 1 year, but the application itself would be remaining as it is. They cannot go in and change the application unless it's an amendment to come in and change it before them. So that was the 2 changes in that. And again, it did go before the committee last month, and they recommended to be approved also. Questions?
With that, I'll make the motion that we approve their application through this resolution.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
Well, let's go ahead and get a second, Bill, and then
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'll make that second.
Jason got, yeah. If you want one next, I'll look for you. Okay, I promise, Paul.
He told me to use the microphone.
Oh, yeah. Okay, now, you had a question, Mr. Mays.
Yeah, I see this as like in one corner. Is this something that's going to expand or, I mean, I'm trying to understand all these. Is this a personal property owner that's just putting it on his property and?
No, they were contacted by Borrego Solar.
Right.
Is the developer of this. They're a company that develops solar farms. The property owners were contacted by them to lease the property to them for them to develop a solar farm on it. So at this particular time, they're asking to have only just this one solar farm to go on there. I don't want to be misleading to you. I have an application in my office now where it's going to be 2 solar farms, we're going to be next to each other, so not this one, it's a different one. So.
Oh, okay. I'm just looking at, you said it's,
yeah, but
the parcel is 152 acres.
I don't want to come back to you in a couple months and say, well, you know, because there's different philosophies on that.
We seem to have a lot of these popping up here lately, or?
There's a lot of them popping up in the state of Illinois. It's the Illinois Power Authority is coming about and starting to grant permission for some of these to be developed. So you're seeing a lot of companies coming up and wanting to develop them in not only
getting to be
Livingston
a
County, but all
target
the
area?
counties.
I'm sorry, are we getting to be like a target area here?
A large part of northern Illinois is a target area. It's not just us, but a large part of it, but it is an issue.
Now, are these, do these constantly send the electricity to the power grid, or are they?
Could you use your mic, please?
It is open, I'm sorry, sit back.
If you look at the plans of this, it's going to be hooked into the transmission lines
Right.
that are going to be on the opposite side of the road, but they're going to be hooked directly into the transmission lines. So, you know, if it's operating during the day, sunny, they'll be putting power in the grid, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Vietti,
Yes.
Bunning,
Yes.
Slagle,
Yes.
Ingalls,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Kestner,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Lovell,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Weller. Ambrose,
No.
Holt,
Yes.
Runyon,
Yes.
Mays,
Abstain.
Heath,
Yes.
Weber, Young,
Yes.
Yoder,
No.
Bannon.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Also, we met with, at the landfill. One of the things that we talked about what was going on there and some of the positive things that were happening. But one of the things that came up was that I think a big portion, maybe 50% of the plastic recycling in the United States has been going to China. I'm not sure, didn't really understand what was wrong with the plastic, whether they're sending mixed plastic that will not recycle, or they're sending plastic with food still attached to it. But China is saying they will not accept plastic anymore. So the United States has to look at a different way of recycling that plastic. Did I get that right? For the most part?
Yeah, for the most part, you did well. I mean, it's just a matter of they're accepting almost all the plastic, and now they want to be contaminated to a minimal amount, which makes it impractical for the United States to send as much plastic to China as they used to. So now the United States is looking for different ways in order to process that plastic and continue having a recycling market, but there's going to be a lag in order to do that to make it all work.
Yeah. Contaminated is the word I was looking for, but I didn't know if that was contaminated because it was mixed plastic. I've seen in the picture they showed on TV where the guy is pulling out bags of plastic.
Well, it could contaminated be bags, or it could be contaminated with leftover food waste, whatever the case may be.
That's the extent of my report.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman Young,
Yes,
may I
sir.
ask a
You
question?
certainly may.
Chuck, just out of curiosity, what impact does that have on the residents of Livingston County with the recycling systems that are in place right now?
I'm not sure. The reason the question came up, there was an article on I believe it was in the Leader.
It was.
In regards to Shinola, and they were discussing the hauling rates in Shinola in regards to recycling and the waste hauling rates. So I think it's something that's kind of undetermined at this point in time, to be quite honest about it. I think they're still kind of waiting to get this lag period over with to see if the United States is going to take up the processing of the plastics or not. But I have not heard a definitive answer on that as to what's going to happen with those rates. I mean, it could go up because of the manpower needed to process it. It's going to increase, slow down the process.
Thank you, Chuck.
Okay. That's it, I assume, Darrell. Right?
That's the end of the report, sir.
Okay, public property, Mr. Ingalls, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Really, the good news is there was no significant maintenance issues this past month at our various buildings. We do have a proposal that has been presented and been approved at the committee level to engage Farnsworth Group for consulting work that has to do with ADA issues at the Law and Justice Center. I think it's common knowledge there are still some issues that are unresolved, and based on the advice that we have been given by our state's attorney, it would be beneficial to the county to have an architectural firm that was not involved in the design or the construction of the building to represent the county as we review any changes that need to be made to get us to full compliance. You have a copy of that in front of you. It's kind of a generic proposal because there's no specifics. It's just review items as they come up, and it'll be done on a time and material basis. With that, I would move for approval of that proposal.
Okay, Mr. Ritter? Second? Discussion?
Mr. Chairman, can we make the motion to approve that pending final attorney review and approval? It hasn't had the opportunity to go through the state's attorney's office.
So,
That's what Mike meant to say,
yes, I think that.
and that's the way Paul understood it, so.
I would like to say it that way.
Okay, any other comment?
Yeah, Mr. Ingles, I apologize for not being at the public property meeting, so I really need an understanding of what this is. I mean, we know what our ADA issues are. So why are we paying somebody to basically tell us what our ADA issues are? I don't
No,
understand.
it's not,
Well,
it's
I
not
apologize
to
for
tell us
not
what
being-
the issues are. It's to review any proposals for remedying them by a second set of eyes.
Mr. Chairman, if the board needs further clarification on this particular topic, we could go into executive session to talk about that.
That would be wise.
Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I want further clarification before I sign an open check.
I'll withdraw your second.
I withdraw my second.
I'll withdraw the motion and make a motion that we go into executive session for further discussion.
I'll second the motion to go into executive session.
For pending litigation, 5 ILCS 120/2C11, pending
Yes.
litigation.
That's exactly what I said.
Okay. Any discussion on that? Okay, we'll roll call that, please.
Piety,
Yes.
Bunning,
Yes.
Flagel,
Yes.
Ingalls,
Yes?
Schaefer,
Yes.
Kestner, Ritter,
Yes.
Lovell,
Yes.
Allen. Yes. Arbogast.
Yes.
Weller. Yes. Ambrose.
Yes.
Holt.
No.
Runyon.
Yes.
Mays.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Weber. Young.
Yeah.
Yoder.
No.
Bannon.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's go back.
Oh, we better wait till the end.
No, you're going into executive session.
It hasn't.
2.5? Yeah, that's right. What's going on? Yeah, put me on the read. It's the board of the law.
And then we gotta tell the AG's office that we're not moving forward.
True. June minute.
She said we approve them in July. I just don't remember doing it now.
He's talking to Randy.
I thought she told us in July that the June.
It's, I bet it was. Hell, it's a damn lie.
Give it to me. Give it to me. I'll make the motion.
No, we just come back.
Nothing but a damn
Yeah, you just, we returned to regular session.
Need a motion for that on record or not?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. And as you can see, we've returned from executive session. We're still on 3, Public Property Committee, and we have a proposal for the Farnsworth Architectural Consulting Firm to be hired for the Law and Justice Center as an advisory role.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I would make the motion that Farnsworth be retained to represent the county's interests in reviewing ADA issues at the Law and Justice Center, contingent upon the review of the agreement by the state's attorney.
Okay, I got a motion. Do I have a second? Weller. Discussion? Okay, we're going to go ahead and roll call that, please.
Vieti,
Yes.
Bunning,
Yes.
Slagle,
Yes.
Ingalls,
Yes?
Schaefer,
Yes.
Kestner,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Lovell,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Arbogast,
Yes.
Weller, Ambrose,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Runyon,
No.
Mays,
No.
Heath,
Yes.
Weber, Young,
Yes.
Yoder,
No.
Bannon.
No.
Okay, motion carried. Okay, is that it? Public property?
That is all. Thank you.
Okay, moving on then. Election Rules and Legislation Committee, Mr. Marty Fannin, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have one action item, as all other issues were handled in consent agenda. We've got the ADA grievance policy and procedure. Melina, would you like to touch on that, or? Oh, there we go. Great, Ginger.
Is this a new policy?
Yeah.
I didn't bring my notes in, so this is off the top of my noggin. Part of the ADA, Title II of the ADA says that any municipality or anyone who has 50 or more employees has to have a designated ADA coordinator and a policy in place that addresses the issues of grievances and who handles those grievances. The policy states that the process of that grievance. So what we've done is we've looked at the past history, and when Livingston Manor was in place, Doug Saxton was the ADA coordinator for the county, and he took care of all the OSHA issues and the ADA issues at that time. Since he has left, we truly did not have a designated person to handle those issues. Alina has been fielding those phone calls ever since, and part of the policy does state that it doesn't necessarily have to be the coordinator that handles things, but that's where the grievances would start. That person would be basically fielding the complaints as they come in and bringing in whomever can help handle those complaints, whether it be human resources or the facilities manager or the state's attorney. That's just the point of contact for the ADA coordinator. The grievance policy, I think you all have that, and the form itself is also part of the Title II of the ADA.
And we've already approved Mrs. Hartley under our consent agenda.
Yes.
So we've done that part of it already, which she has done some of it in the past, some of that work. So Marty,
Any other questions for Ginger? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the resolution for the ADA grievance and policy and procedure.
Bannon the motion,
I'll second.
Arbogast second. Discussion?
That's how you do it, Paul.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
You can do that as a voice vote.
Okay, voice vote. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. IT, Mrs. Allen, Chair.
Did you have anything else, Marty?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met with John, who went over his monthly department report. He indicated that the majority of the month was spent working on the phone system changeover. He was still working on issues with 911. He noted that this did not affect the 911 calls. The issues had to do with transfer of internal calls. And there has been some issues with the replication of servers, stated that the wireless connection needed to be realigned. Also, Linda Ambrose asked that video streaming be added to the IT agenda, and it passed 3-2 to forward to the full board. So at this time, I'm going to ask Linda to go ahead and explain the request.
Several constituents in my area have asked that the committee meetings be video recorded in some way. Even though most of the board seems that they would welcome people to come to the meeting, we have stated that in today's world that a lot of people cannot make it to the meetings, and they could then watch them at their leisure, not necessarily exactly when they're going on, but whenever it is convenient to them. I think people do want to see these videos. When I recorded a recent ZBA hearing where there was a question with the hog farms up north, people from both sides were there. After the meeting, they both asked me where would this be so that they could view it. When I said we were not posting them online yet, they then asked me for a copy of it. And I said we weren't doing that yet either. We were just recording them for our information. It would keep the board members up to date when they are not here for a meeting, or sometimes some people are gone for a long period of time in the winter. They could then watch them. One of the constituents that's here tonight from Pontiac had emailed, I believe, all of us, and I thought he had a very valid reason. He was not able to be at the admin meeting, and he wanted to know what things were covered. This Mr. Young graciously let the public speak before we're taking a vote on the resolution to go on the ballot. But sometimes something is voted on and people have not got to express their opinion because normally public comment is at the end. If he had been able to watch a video of it, then he would have known what was talked about and maybe would not needed to have addressed it at all. So sometimes, the minutes are not ready by the time the board meeting is. So with that, I would like to make a motion and then open it up for discussion. I move that the county board implement a plan to video record all committee and ZBA meetings for viewing by the public with the stipulations that the IT committee formulate a plan where the county incurs no setup cost and that it can be done without causing more work for the county staff after the initial setup.
Is there a second to that?
I will second that.
Mr. Slagle? Mr. Slagle? Yep. Second. Now we open it up for discussion. Mr. Reuter.
Or Ritter, it's
Yeah.
okay. I'm one of the two. So, I've been called worse in class, that's for sure.
Paul?
I actually support us being able to have another medium that we can get information out to the public. I do have one concern. Clearly, we have different committees that have times material that is sensitive to security, and I think the committee that I'm on is a prime example of that, sheriff, jail, and license, where we do have some security things that are involved that would have to be excluded. And so as that happens, I'm not really sure how you exclude that material and that committee from all other committees, and how you would be able to say, we'll tape one or video broadcast one committee versus another committee. And so I think it's great that we have citizens who want to be informed. That's awesome. I think it's great that we have to find a way to help make that a little bit easier if they can't make it to the meeting. I think that's important. I do have concern that with the committees that I'm on, that is a concern as far as the security of that committee. Not for like our health and wellness, right? You understand what I'm talking about? Okay. I just want to make sure.
Mr. Yoder? Speak into your microphone.
I want to ask Mr. Ritter, you're concerned about the security, and I'm on that same committee. What's the difference whether it's taped or whether the people are the public is invited to that meeting? The same information would be there at the meeting if they were present as would be on the tape. I don't understand the concern then. We do have some written information that we get to see that we wouldn't bring up. What do you think?
I'm thinking more along the lines of personnel from the sheriff's department, that type of situation.
You mean identities of?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, there again, the public is invited to the meeting. They would be in the meeting with that person. So what's the difference whether they're taped or whether the person comes in person?
I believe that there is a greater opportunity for identity to be gleaned in a situation where people are looking to find out who specific people are. Now, yeah, it takes a little bit more to come into a personal meeting. So there's definitely a distinction there of whether you're, I don't know, in your bedroom watching it versus coming into a board meeting. And so for me, I believe that is an area of concern.
Mrs. Ambrose?
I too worry about the safety of some of our police officers, and we have bounced this around, and I had suggested that only some of the meetings be taped then, that we thought were pertinent to the public, but then some other members pointed out that they did not think the public would go for that, that either it's going to have to be all meetings taped or none. And so I do recognize that as a problem.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ingalls?
I I truly believe in transparency, open government, and I think we do a pretty good job of that. I don't have any personal objection to meetings being taped, live streamed, and recorded. I'm interested to know how the IT committee is going to do this without any upfront cost and without any extra work on terms of staff, but I'll leave that to the IT committee if the motion proceeds. But understand, recordings become public record, the same as minutes of meetings. We are obligated by statute to retain public records. There is no provision in the statute for these having an expiration date that I'm aware of, and I consulted with our state's attorney. So, beyond the live streaming, the recordings would then have to be somehow retained, talk about electronic medium, organized and available for access weeks, months, days later, the same as minutes. I mean, you can go to Christie's office and ask for copy of county board minutes from, well, I don't know how far back they go, but a long time ago. So I struggle with the cost and the staff time to comply with the law. I mean, if the IT committee can come up with something, as Mrs. Ambrose has suggested, where there's no upfront cost and there's no additional work, I'll wait till the IT committee comes up with that plan before I would vote in favor of it. It's strictly a matter of staff time and cost.
Okay, wait a minute, I'll get back to you, Mrs. Ambrose.
Chairman.
Is there anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Bunning, I think.
I guess Mr. Patterson on public comment had mentioned the fact that he couldn't get minutes, and Linda just had mentioned that that was an issue too. Can someone give me the timeline on how these minutes work and how soon the public has access to them?
Yeah, so we always publish the minutes at least 7 days after they're approved, so 7 to 10 days. So once the committee meets, we try and have them posted within 7 to 10 days after their approval. So generally speaking, once the packet goes out, generally will go out by Monday at the latest.
Yeah.
And so Monday or Tuesday, I will post the minutes. That's when they're there. But they are for the prior month. We used to do drafts, and we can look at doing that again, to where the drafts are posted prior to the board meeting. But we did have an issue where there were some errors in the minutes, and that kind of went out there. So that's why we stopped doing it. But we used to do that, and we can look at doing that again, but we just have to realize, and the public has to realize, that they're drafts, and so they could be errors. You think about the amount of time that we turn around those committee minutes and have them posted and sent out to the board. There's a pretty quick turnaround. So there are errors, and I change them a lot before they're actually submitted for approval.
And my next question, I guess, may be for Ritter, or Reuter, however you want to say it. But I guess you got to shed some light to me. Is there a presentation that's not being made at Sheriff Dale and License now because Ms. Ambrose has got the video camera there? Is that the concern? Because my concern then would be, if I'm going to stand up in front of the constituents here and make a vote, if I'm coming out of a committee meeting, or my peers are coming out of a committee meeting, I want them well versed on what's taken place. And if they're not getting that because we've got some presentation or presenters that are nervous about saying something with a live camera, then I have concerns for that.
No, it's not that at all. That's not it. We have, I don't think it's a stretch for anybody here to understand that we have undercover personnel. And so that's my concern. Has nothing to do with anything. I'm all for 100% transparency. 100%. I do not want to ever have us jeopardize the identities of undercover personnel that would cause harm or cause us to not be able to fulfill our duties. And when I say our, I'm referring to the sheriff's department.
Mr. Chairman? I would like to hear from the IT administrator and see what his view is on that.
John, you've been drafted.
You're welcome.
Thanks. The biggest problem that I'm gonna see is, originally we talked about one camera. Well, if you have the meeting out here, we have to have another camera. So, depending on in the highway, we gotta have a camera out there. So, it's gonna be time setting it up, getting the camera going. Someone's gonna have to get it started and stop it. And it's not as easy as pushing a button. You gotta turn it on and make sure it's working. So, time is the biggest thing.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Ritter?
We had a system that we utilized for the wind farms and the wind farm meetings. Is this a system that would, if we could figure out the other piece, that could adequately address our needs?
You mean the cube?
I do mean the cube.
Because it's not even in business anymore.
However,
Blake started something, but it also costs money.
it does, but the cubes, there is the same system set up that we can utilize with the cube, not called the cube, high school Zoom or whatever it's called, that has the same system. My question is, having the equipment that we have, using the iPad scenario, I don't know if it still works as that way or not, is this something that would address our needs to fit that without causing the setup of the camera, the additional personnel, and those things? That's my question.
The big issue is who is going to do that at every meeting?
That I
You're gonna have a
understand.
chairman of each committee do it, or is Alini gonna do it?
No.
So, I already know that answer, so.
And if you remember, that's how this started. And it, right.
Remember correctly, I have so much going on that I could not remember.
And there
to
were
do
times that it
And then
didn't
we
get-
put it on the chairman of IT and the vice chairman, and between them, they were supposed to do it. And we couldn't get that right either.
Right.
And so we decided that if we were going to do it, we needed to do it right. And we're finally doing it right, but we're just not there yet for the others.
Okay, thank you, John. Unless somebody got a question for John?
I just got one question. The initial setup, is the camera in the committee room after that? Is it
What do you
just a
mean?
matter of, I mean, you set up your camera? It just is not like what you have here, but, like out at the, no.
The camera that we put in there, you mean?
Yeah, after that, you know, you say it's just a matter of pushing a button.
Not always. Problem is, if you're gonna put in one camera, you have the meeting at the other end of the room. You don't have it.
Well, then
You'd have to have two cameras in there.
well, I meant you shift your meeting to the room.